You think you see the market clearly. You believe your analysis is logical. But beneath the logic, there's something else, something subtle, something hidden. A quiet voice that doesn't ask, "What's true?" It asks, "What makes me feel safe?" That voice isn't reason, it's bias. Every trader has it. It's the invisible force that makes you see what you want to see, not what's real. It turns confidence into blindness, logic into illusion. It's the reason you hold losers too long and question winners too soon. You think you're analyzing the market, but most of the time the market is analyzing you. And if you don't learn to see your own bias, you'll keep repeating the same patterns, different trades, same emotions, same outcomes. This video isn't about strategy, it's about sight. The ability to see reality through the noise of belief. Because until you master perception, you can't master performance. This is mind over markets. And today we're going to expose the bias that silently controls your trading decisions, the one you never see coming. You sit at your desk, the charts are glowing, your analysis feels clear. You've seen this pattern before, the setup looks perfect. You tell yourself this is it. This is the one that makes sense. Every candle seems to confirm what you already believe. But something subtle is happening. You're not analyzing anymore. You're validating. That's the moment the trap closes, the moment your mind stops searching for truth and starts searching for comfort. This is confirmation bias, the entry trap nobody sees. Every trader thinks they're objective, that their logic is pure. But the human brain was never designed for truth. It was designed for safety. And safety often hides behind belief. When you form an opinion, your brain starts building a wall around it. That wall filters information. Anything that supports your opinion gets through easily. Anything that threatens it bounces off. You call this confidence, but it's not confidence. It's blindness dressed as certainty. You think you're seeing the market, but you're only seeing what you want to see. The mind loves to be right, because being right feels safe. It gives you a sense of control in a world that's uncertain. But in trading, that desire for control is poison. When you enter a trade, your ego quietly takes the wheel. It whispers, "Let's find reasons this trade will work." And so you start looking confirmation everywhere. A support zone, a Fibonacci level, a moving average bounce, a piece of news that aligns perfectly with your bias. Your brain becomes a lawyer defending your position, not a scientist testing a hypothesis. And that's the core of the problem. You stop looking for truth and start looking for validation. Every trader falls into it at some point. You tell yourself you're disciplined, that you're following your plan. But deep down, there's that small emotional part of you that wants to be right more than you want to see clearly. That's why confirmation bias is so dangerous. It doesn't feel like a mistake, it feels like conviction. You think you're being decisive, but what you're really being is blind. The bias starts before you even click buy or sell. It begins the moment you want something to happen, the moment you see a setup and imagine it working out. From that instant, your perception bends around that desire. Every tick that goes in your favor feels like proof. Every tick against you feels like noise. The human mind doesn't trade what's in front of it. It trades what it wants to be true. You don't trade the chart. You trade your interpretation of it, colored by emotion, shaped by hope. And the most dangerous part, you don't even realize it's happening. You could be a professional, a seasoned analyst, a mentor to others, and still fall victim to this bias. Because it's not about intelligence, it's about awareness. Your mind is built to protect your ego, not your account balance. When a trade starts moving against you, your ego doesn't want to feel wrong. So it searches for new information to justify staying in. It whispers, "It's just a retracement. It's testing the zone. I'll give it a little more room." But those words aren't strategy. They're self-preservation. You're not fighting the market. You're fighting the discomfort of being wrong. Think back to your biggest losses. Were they caused by a bad setup or by your refusal to admit the setup failed? That's confirmation bias in its purest form. You defend your idea instead of defending your equity. It happens silently. The moment you take a position, your objectivity is compromised. You start hoping, interpreting, rationalizing. You stop observing. You begin filtering reality through the lens of your position. That's why professional traders separate analysis from execution. They know that once money is on the line, perception is no longer neutral. Emotion distorts everything. Your brain is constantly seeking patterns. It's wired to find meaning even when none exists. When you believe something, your perception literally changes to support it. It's not a metaphor, it's neuroscience. You look at the same chart twice, once neutral, once biased, and you will literally see different things. The candles didn't change, you did. And the more emotionally invested you are, the more blind you become. This is why traders say the more you want it, the less you'll see it. Desire clouds perception. And confirmation bias is how desire disguises itself as logic. So how do you escape it? You can't eliminate bias, it's part of being human. But you can build systems that expose it before it destroys you. You start by asking a different question. Instead of asking, what confirms my idea, ask, what would disprove it? That question changes everything. When you define your invalidation before you enter, you reclaim objectivity. You shift from defender to observer, from ego to awareness. This is what professional traders do instinctively. They define the exact conditions that would prove them wrong before they enter the market. That's how they protect their clarity. Because clarity isn't built from confidence. It's built from curiosity. You can't see clearly when you already think you know. The best traders are not the ones who are most confident, they're the ones who are most open to being wrong. You might think that sounds weak, but it's the opposite. It takes strength to confront uncertainty. It takes humility to say, I might be wrong, and that's okay. That humility is what keeps you adaptable. Most traders lose, not because they lack skill, but because they lose perspective. They get trapped in the confirmation loop, a cycle of belief validation and self-deception. The loop looks like this. You see what you expect, you act on it. The act reinforces your belief, and the belief blinds you further. The longer you stay inside that loop, the harder it becomes to see outside it. Soon, you're no longer trading the chart, you're trading your own expectations. And expectations are the most expensive positions you can hold. Think about it. You've been there. You see a pattern, maybe a breakout. You convince yourself it's real. You find articles, tweets, indicators, all aligning with your idea. You enter. The trade stalls. You tell yourself it's a pullback, then it drops. You say it's retesting support, then it breaks further. You double down. By the time you admit you were wrong, it's not just money you've lost, it's trust in yourself. That's the hidden cost of confirmation bias. It doesn't just drain your account, it drains your confidence. Each time you ignore reality to protect your ego, you weaken your relationship with truth. And truth is the only edge that lasts. So the next time you feel that rush of excitement that this looks perfect moment, pause. Don't trust it immediately. That's your bias whispering. Ask yourself, what am I not seeing? Write it down. Force your mind to confront the opposite case, because the most dangerous thoughts are the ones you don't question. Every great trader has scars from bias, but the difference between those who grow and those who quit is awareness. Awareness doesn't eliminate bias, but it limits its power. Bias is like gravity, constant, invisible, always pulling. Your job isn't to deny it. Your job is to build systems that keep you grounded in truth despite it. That's where discipline meets psychology. When you create a trading routine, pre-trade checklist, journaling, risk parameters, you're not just building discipline. You're building a psychological firewall, a system that protects you from yourself. Because the real edge in trading isn't about predicting the next move. It's about maintaining clarity when your emotions want to take control. That's the difference between a trader and a gambler. A gambler seeks confirmation. A trader seeks truth. The gambler asks, how can I prove I'm right? The trader asks, how can I know if I'm wrong? That single difference defines long-term survival. Your goal isn't to be right. Your goal is to be aware. Once you understand that every loss becomes feedback instead of failure, every trade becomes data, not identity, that's when trading starts to feel different. The noise quiets. The rush fades. You stop needing to be right and start wanting to see clearly. And that's the beginning of mastery. You've probably noticed how easy it is to find reasons to believe you're right. Your brain loves patterns that fit the story you've already written. It's comforting, it's satisfying, it feels intelligent. But intelligence is not awareness. And in trading, comfort kills clarity. Confirmation bias is not just a thinking error, it's a feeling error. It's the mind's way of reducing discomfort when reality doesn't align with desire. It's psychological anesthesia. It numbs the pain of uncertainty. But the more you use it, the less reality you can feel. That's why most traders stay stuck. They don't lack skill. They lack honesty with themselves. Every losing streak is a mirror. It reflects the truths you refuse to face. The question is, will you look? Let's go deeper. When you enter a trade, there's a subtle shift inside you. Before you click buy, you're neutral. Your mind is open, curious. But once you're in, you've chosen a side. Your ego is now attached. And from that moment, your perception bends around your position. If you're long, every dip looks like a buy opportunity. If you're short, every bounce looks like a dead cat. You don't see what's there. You see what supports your bias. That's why trading feels emotional, because you've tied your identity to the outcome. You're not just defending a trade, you're defending yourself. The mind hates uncertainty because uncertainty threatens control. So it builds stories, mental narratives to make the world predictable again. Those stories become your confirmation. They become your blindfold every time you justify. Instead of observe, your blindfold tightens. And when that happens, the market doesn't have to beat you, you'll beat yourself. That's why awareness is your real edge. Not more indicators, not more data, awareness. Because awareness doesn't remove emotion, it reveals it. It lets you see the invisible hand shaping your decisions. If you can name your bias, you can disarm it. But awareness without process is fragile. When stress hits, awareness collapses unless it's supported by structure. That's why you need an anti-bias system. Let's build one together. Start with the pre-trade mirror. Before every trade, pause and ask, what story am I telling myself about this setup? Am I seeing what's there or what I want to be there? If I didn't already want to enter, would I still see this as valid? That pause interrupts the automatic pattern of bias. It forces the conscious mind to step in before emotion takes over. It turns impulse into observation. You're not trying to eliminate bias, you're trying to slow it down. Next, use the disconfirmation rule. For every reason you have to enter, write down one reason not to. Not because you want to be negative, but because you want to be balanced. Bias thrives in silence. Writing exposes it. Ask yourself, what would the opposite trader see right now? What evidence would make me change my mind? If this were a losing setup, what would it look like? The mind resists these questions because they create discomfort. But that discomfort is the price of clarity. Comfort feeds bias. Discomfort feeds truth. Every time you confront the opposite case, you expand your awareness. You start to see not just the trade, but your own perception of it. That's when you begin to trade reality, not stories. Now let's talk about the journal of blind spots. After each session, review your trades and identify where bias appeared. Don't ask, was it a win or a loss? Ask, was my thinking clean or distorted? You'll start to see patterns. Maybe you notice you only see long setups in bullish markets, or that you ignore warning signals when you're recovering from a loss. Maybe you add size only after 3 wins in a row. Each of those is a bias signature, your mental fingerprint. Once you see it, it loses power. Because what bias fears most is exposure. Now here's where most traders fail. They treat awareness as an event, not a discipline. They think, I understand this now, so I'm safe. But bias doesn't disappear when you understand it. It disappears when you train against it daily. That's why awareness must become habit. Every morning, read your anti-bias reminders. Write them where you trade. If I want to see it, I question it. The market is neutral, only I have bias. My job is not to be right. My job is to stay clear. These are not affirmations. They are anchors. Anchors that keep your perception tethered to truth when emotion starts to drift. Now let's address something deeper. Why do we crave confirmation in the first place? Because being wrong feels like rejection. It touches the oldest fear in the human brain, the fear of failure, the fear of shame. You were conditioned to believe that being wrong means you're not good enough. So in trading, when a trade goes against you, it doesn't just hurt your balance, it hurts your identity. That's why you defend your trades. That's why you search for reasons to hold on. That's why you avoid taking losses quickly. The market doesn't punish you for being wrong. It punishes you for refusing to be wrong soon enough. The ego wants to be right, but the professional wants to see clearly. That's why professionals cut losses fast, not because they're cold, but because they're free. Freedom isn't the absence of emotion. It's the ability to act correctly despite emotion. That's the highest form of discipline. When you accept that you will always have bias, you stop fearing it. You start designing around it. You build rules that catch you when your mind begins to drift. You use structure as protection against self-deception. Because in the end, trading is not about beating the market. It's about beating the bias that lives inside you. Let's step back. Picture 2 traders looking at the same chart, same data, same candles. One sees opportunity, the other sees danger. What's the difference? Not the chart, the lens. You don't trade reality, you trade your interpretation of it. And your interpretation is filtered through everything you've experienced, feared, and believed. That's why you must learn to question your lens more than your chart. When you master the lens, the chart reveals truth. When you ignore it, every setup becomes a trap. This is what trading psychology truly means, mastering perception before performance. Because performance follows perception. If your perception is distorted, your performance will be too. So the real work of trading isn't on the screen. It's in your awareness. Every day is a test of perception. Every trade is a mirror. You think you're analyzing the market, but the market is analyzing you. It's revealing where you lack patience, where you crave validation, where you hide from uncertainty. If you pay attention, the market teaches you who you are. If you ignore it, it punishes you until you learn. And once you learn, you stop chasing profits and start chasing precision, not in price, but in perception. Now imagine this. You enter a trade. It starts moving against you. Your old self would begin searching for reasons to hold on. This is just noise. It'll come back. It's oversold. But now something different happens. You pause, you breathe, you look at your notes, your pre-trade checklist, you see your invalidation level. It's hit. Instead of arguing, you act, you close, you take the loss. But this time there's no panic, no guilt. You feel calm. because you know what just happened. Your system worked. You didn't lose. You executed clarity. That's what mastery looks like, not winning every trade, but obeying truth over emotion. Every moment you obey your rules, you rewire your brain. You teach it that discipline is safety, not danger, and that lesson compounds. Soon you begin to see differently. Bias doesn't disappear, but you recognize it sooner. Emotion still appears, but it passes faster. And clarity, real, unshakable clarity, begins to emerge. That's when trading becomes quiet. You stop forcing trades. You start waiting. You let the market come to you, because now you trust process more than prediction. And in that stillness, you discover the truth that every great trader eventually learns. You don't need to control the market. You only need to stop letting your bias control you. This is the transformation from analysis to awareness, from emotion to execution, from belief to truth. Most traders never reach it. They stay trapped in the invisible cage of confirmation bias, chasing the feeling of being right and losing to the truth they refuse to see. But you can choose differently. You can choose to build awareness instead of ego. You can choose to design structure instead of excuses. You can choose to see clearly instead of feel right. That choice repeated every day will change everything. Because the real edge in trading is not in the chart. It's in the mind that reads it. And when your mind sees clearly, your results become inevitable. So the next time you open your chart, remember this. Don't look for confirmation, look for clarity. Don't chase being right. Chase being real. Because the trader who sees clearly wins quietly. This is mind over markets. In the end, confirmation bias is not a trading problem. It's a human problem. The mind would rather feel right than face uncertainty. It builds stories to protect itself from fear, even if those stories cost you clarity. But you're not here to be comfortable. You're here to grow. The moment you start questioning what you believe, you begin to see differently. The charts haven't changed, your awareness has. You'll still feel emotion, you'll still face fear, but you'll recognize it for what it is, a signal, not a sentence. And when you can see without distortion, you stop chasing confirmation and start following truth. That's when everything changes. Because trading mastery isn't about being right, it's about being real. The clearer you see, the quieter your mind becomes. And in that quiet, you'll find the consistency you've been searching for all along. This is mind over markets. And your next breakthrough begins the moment you stop looking for confirmation and start looking for truth.